Hey, Ben Boy, thanks for coming. Hey guys, let me retweet this. This is the first form Twitter space. 1 second.
Hey, Mike, coming through loud and clear?
Absolutely. Yeah, let me retweet this here.
No problem.
Oh wow, okay. Well, we could chill here and wait for a few. Oh, there's Ben Boy again. Um, yeah, we could chill here and chat for a little bit. Let me join this from my personal
There's
here.
Ben Boy again.
Yeah, we could chill here and just kind of chat through everything and or wait for a few more folks to come in. This is our first Twitter space though. Cool. Chunda, what do you think? Do you wanna wait or
I'm good to get started whenever. I mean, we're recording this, so this is good for posterity. We can just kind of go over the roadmap and vision, and then we can refer folks to this to learn more in the future.
awesome? Yeah, great point. Hey guys, thanks for stopping by. This is the inaugural Forum Twitter space. We're a SocialFi L2 that's launching mainnet super soon. We just launched our pre-deposit campaign. Um, the topic for today is unlocking SocialFi yield. As an L2, when we think about SocialFi, we think about a bonding curve that represents the layer of interaction between a user and their network. This was, of course, introduced in 2023 formally with FriendTech. And then the idea of adding yield onto this is really adding DeFi composability. And when you imagine a mainnet dedicated to SocialFi, especially in 2024, 2025, you imagine native yield. And so some of the assets that are backing the DeFi strategies behind Nucleus, as well as Nucleus as a protocol, is allowing native yield bearing assets that we now know, like Form E, to proliferate on the Form mainnet when we launch. And so we're really excited to have Nucleus as our main partner here on the yield bearing ETH side. I'll pass it away to Chanda just to give a little background on Nucleus, and then we'll kind of brainstorm on the future of what this can look like.
Yeah, 100%. Appreciate the handoff. So yeah, my name is Chunda. I'm one of the co-founders of Nucleus. Nucleus is a protocol focusing on really achieving the ubiquity of what we call yield by default or default yield for rollups and app chains across the crypto ecosystem. The core premise is based off the fact that you as a user, when you go and you use a network, whether it be a rollup or app chain or really whatever folks may define these kind of new ecosystems as, our goal is to allow users to actually build equity and ownership in these ecosystems because at the end of the day, users are kind of that one basic unit and especially their capital, are that kind of basic fundamental unit that drive value to ecosystems. And so the goal is really at the end of the day to be able to compensate and reward users for providing that value to ecosystems. And the idea of default yield is basically at first just to minimize the user opportunity cost of bringing assets over to a new ecosystem. So instead of kind of foregoing mainnet yield, you get to bring that with you. And then the second part of it is to really enable the yield from, or the activity from the rollup, or the kind of new ecosystem you're a part of, to actually contribute to that yield as well. So the core premise is, now that you're a part of the Forum ecosystem, the infrastructure that Forum depends on and the apps that Forum depends on, and then you, the users that make up that basic unit for Forum success, will be able to earn on the basis of the revenue of the apps and the infrastructure that Forum implements into the rollup itself, to be able to benefit the user experience for everyone.
Wonderful. Yeah. We're super excited to just keep on jamming, even the idea of sort of like a gas token for apps being Form ETH, or just as you mentioned, kind of the default yield flowing into SocialFi is something that, we're super, super proud of. We are just launching sort of the pre-deposit for Form ETH and our general staking campaign as well. Really quickly, just going to open it up to the audience here. If anyone has any questions, feel free to raise your hand, or we'll just keep on going with some more details on the roadmap for Form.
Yeah, I think one of the big things, while we wait for folks to raise their hand, one of the big things I think would be interesting for everyone to hear is just to talk a little bit more about kind of what are the types of applications that you're excited to kind of see pop up in the SocialFi ecosystem, and what are the new types of applications that people can expect to really leverage in the Forum ecosystem coming up after you guys launch the mainnet?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. So you guys maybe read our exclusive in the Defiant, which really highlighted two things aside from the launch. But one, the idea of thesis chains, so a chain that's dedicated to an ecosystem, and then within that, having a SocialFi chain that represents the category of SocialFi plus DeFi composability. So this is, of course, an evolution of things like Friendtech, where your tokens are by essence centralized onto that platform. So we saw kind of the outcome there. In our reality, tokens are bonding curve tokens exist on the application, but can also be converted to ERC20s to integrate into the wider DeFi and crypto ecosystem, like DEXs and sort of other apps. So initially, as we're creating like a new, you can almost think about it as land or a city. So initially, the city of SocialFi is really going to exist in terms of what you guys have seen in the past. So we want things to feel super familiar. So you guys are very familiar with apps like Friendtech, where you connect with Twitter, you have a token, you're trading it. You guys are very familiar with apps like Pump.Fun on Solana, where you launch, people trade, it gets programmatically listed on a DEX and converts to an ERC20 token. That whole thesis of having a token and then having that token be propelled from a fairly fun, productized trading environment to a more DeFi-centric environment is the initial goal of Forum. What's different for us, in addition to having a chain, it's just the vision that we're really excited about moving forward. So we just got off a call with a few market makers, and they're all really interested in addition to the Forum tokens on Forum, so SocialFi tokens on Forum. So what this means is we're incubating essentially a SocialFi liquidity alliance. So you could imagine an app where, let's call it a podcast app, and this is on Forum, every podcast has a bonding curve. And maybe one of those podcasts, hits it really big, and they have a chance to work with this liquidity alliance and basically have their SocialFi token have a market maker behind it and liquidity, and have that serve not only a robust DeFi ecosystem on Forum, but also get listed on exchanges, that you guys are very familiar with in the centralized exchange environment. And that as a thought concept for communities doesn't really exist. So if you talk to sort of a YouTuber or someone on Twitter, or a podcaster, they're not really thinking about like FDV and native yield and these sorts of things. And so we're very excited to just change the narrative for what it means to have a community on the internet by introducing not only speculation, of course, which you guys have seen over the past couple of years, but yeah, literally the idea of market cap and native yield. And so this is the thesis. And so it's going to revolve around what you guys have seen, but sort of the big secret of Forum is that we view everything as a market. So some of you may turn on the TV today and saw a game show, say Wheel of Fortune or Jeopardy or something. In our lens, we see these as potential markets that people can play around in. So we'll start with things you have seen, and then we'll evolve into things that are completely new. You could imagine a game show with a bonding curve, or sort of different things moving forward. You could imagine a multi-curve world where it's not just a one creator, one curve framework. It's a one creator, multi-curve framework. So you may have someone that is a very popular YouTuber or writer, and their community not only warrants curves for them as an individual, but it also warrants curves for their content. So the idea of content curves are interesting as well. So a wide thesis, but the next couple quarters is just getting the foundation of the city down.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, you need to build out those fundamental rails before you can scale up. And it's all things, building things that are different require time and a lot of energy. And I know we can definitely attest to how that feels. Yeah, I think the exciting thing about bringing things like default yield into the equation here is, a lot of people have a very constrained kind of, I'd say, like, imagination on what default yield can enable, which is just, hey, I'm just gonna like earn the staking yield while I participate on this chain. But I think the beautiful, and it makes sense, right? Because when you look at around the ecosystem about kind of how this idea has been implemented to date, it's been pretty constrained on the type of use cases that you really see kind of crop up. Really just to be that kind of like set and forget it type solution. But what really gets interesting is when we see people start to experiment, and when they realize that default yield is kind of present throughout an ecosystem, especially when it comes to application and kind of, I think specifically SocialFi business models. So things like, being able to, instead of having to pay for access to certain applications or certain different like mechanisms of a protocol, being able to simply put up the capital for rent for a short period of time and then foregoing the yield. That could be a revenue stream for businesses. So you can imagine yourself like, let's say you had this like game show that did exist, right? And then in playing in that game show, you just put up your default yield assets to play in the game show, and then the game show basically guarantees the redemption of all your assets as long as you keep it in the pool for some minimum amount of time. Or you can imagine that same thing with a prediction market itself. Imagine a prediction market where it just requires you to provide the capital for some fixed amount of time, but it doesn't actually charge you fees on trading in and out of positions. Things like this could really change the dynamics of how protocols are really able to kind of, one, monetize, and two, kind of diminish costs for users as well, and to be a bit more kind of creative on being able to retain value. So I think things like that are really exciting, especially from a SocialFi context, because you just have a lot of flexibility, right? When it comes to a lot of the pre-existing primitives in DeFi and things of that nature, you're kind of constrained on the amount of flexibility that you have to implement these novel kind of monetization structures and things of that nature, just because there's not too many primitives and business models to go around. But when you start building consumer-facing applications, you can start getting really creative there. And I think that's super exciting.
Yeah, we've seen this interesting narrative recently of folks kind of staking and foregoing yield, and that yield either going to the protocol and the protocol giving out their governance token, or that yield being distributed in new ways. And yeah, that's a really fascinating point of just combining that with a SocialFi aesthetic. So just having a bonding curve for specific pieces of content. Along the way. I'd love to see this in like reality TV or something in the future.
I know, right?
Hopefully, like a Judge Judy bonding curve.
That would be hilarious.
But yeah, so it's not too far fetched. It's just getting a LA producer involved. But yeah, it's super exciting to think through that.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just really like, I think the thing that's most important is getting boots on the ground with the teams that are building these types of implementations and kind of evangelizing the use cases. Which is what we're very excited to do. Actually, we have folks, especially upcoming these next few months, got a lot of folks going all over the place, especially in Thailand, to kind of chat with a lot of the builders who are working on a lot of those builder houses to really try to find new use cases for default yield and these application ecosystems. So, yeah, things like this are just very, very exciting.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I don't know, 100%. One thing I was going to ask you was, you mentioned the forum pre-deposit coming up recently. What is that? How do users get involved? How do users interact? What's the story behind that? Why you're doing it? I think the users would love to hear kind of a lowdown of what's going on there.
Yeah, so a little bit of the background of Form. So we're also the founders of Roll, which introduced social tokens. Back in the day in 2019, had a bunch of success there, but mainly the fees went to Uniswap. And then so as we evolve in this new world of SocialFi, we're learning from other protocols as well as kind of like low-key grandfathering the category. But we really learned from the lack of decentralization with other projects. So things like Rentec and other projects kind of fork their code and contracts as well. And so this is the big, the staking campaigns we're doing right now. They're the very beginning of the decentralization of Form. And so had an early start with Renzo and Pendle. So currently, you guys can deposit Easy ETH, Peasy ETH, and lots of other Renzo, and one other Pendle Renzo-based asset into our staking contract, and you guys will receive Form points, which is the sort of like a coupon claim on Form tokens, which of course represent the decentralization of Form, which is the decentralization of SocialFi. So some of the crazy things Chund and I were talking about, like a reality show bonding curve network. You could recreate a Fox News channel or CNN, or have a bunch of crazy ideas that are all kind of like bonding curve based. These are all things that you could imagine get deployed through an ecosystem fund. So someone just having a crazy idea and it gets funneled through. And this is the future of SocialFi. We're going to kind of start as kind of the brains behind it and then kind of decentralize this over time. So putting in ETH or any other assets right now are the beginning of that decentralization. And so you could expect many more assets being added quite soon. And those assets can be deposited into our staking campaign as well as Form ETH. And we'll have a lot of news on other partnerships and how this interacts with mainnet in the coming weeks.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, Form ETH is the default yield ETH asset for the Form ecosystem. So when you mint Form ETH, you'll be able to easily bridge it into Form and earn yield while you do it. It also is including, I think, some of the most boosted incentives out of all of the assets in the pool. So definitely check it out if you're interested in SocialFi and hearing and interacting with a lot of these applications that are going to be coming out in the Form ecosystem. It's a great place to start to build and grow equity in the future city that will be the Form network. I think before, I don't know how long you want to stay on this, Bradley, but I think if we want to go for the half hour, any bits of alpha things that we can share with the folks in the crowd that they might not know, but just by looking at the docs and all the public announcements.
Yeah. So we are following in the footsteps of some incredible projects like Blast, and I'll include Manta in there as well, which did incredible incentivized mainnet campaigns. And so you could imagine that will evolve from this pre-deposit to an incentivized mainnet campaign where you guys will get deeply incentivized for creating tokens on the Forum mainnet and trading tokens on the Forum mainnet, among many other things. Some pre-alpha would be that to gather a larger community into these activities, we will also reward users retroactively of similar protocols that have existed in the past. So if you guys were playing around
Interesting.
or were users of our previous iteration role at a certain time, you could expect to be rewarded in a way that would be very fun for you. And those rewards will just keep on happening all the way up to the release of the token. And so we're very excited about that, and talking with some of the top market makers behind lots of the tokens you guys love as well to make sure the launch goes well too.
Fantastic. It sounds to me that if you're a builder, if you're a contributor in the ecosystem, and if you've been a participant in a lot of things in other ecosystems, you'll be greatly rewarded for exploring Forum and trying out all the new things there. And to me, that's music to my ears. I know it's music to a lot of folks' ears who have been uh, invested into the crypto ecosystem as a whole for the past few years. I'll share a little bit of alpha on our side as well. I know right now for folks who are interacting with Nucleus, you'll be able to see a little thing pop up um, around this idea, this concept of Nucleus points coming out. I will say that soon, within the next few weeks, we will have live. We'll post an announcement of what exactly those will be used for. And you'll be able to track all of those that we have been tracking retroactively since the moment that we went live with our first network. So if you are not deposited and exposed to Nucleus vaults yet, I highly, highly recommend you check those out, because we have been listening and we have been watching to all of our users, and we will be showcasing an update on what exactly those will accrue to, how you can track them in a few weeks. So definitely keep on the lookout for that. Anything we want to close out with, Bradley? Where can they check out all the new updates on Forum? Where can they check out you and everything you're working on before we close things out?
Yeah. Quick shout out to Eswardi for your comment on the post. Love that. Highly anticipating the Forum release. I see you're friends with Satya. That's very cool. Satya's an incredible Discord lead. Just go to forum.network. We have a nice banner up there to link directly to Forum ETH and meditations. You guys are all following our Twitter, but if not, go ahead and give it a follow. And we'll have a lot of announcements this quarter. This quarter is going to be the road to mainnet, if not mainnet. So we're going to be working with just a whole sea of projects that will really enhance the network and get it a lot bigger. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them as comments just in the space. But if not, we'll close out in a minute. And expect this more often. This was super cool. We recorded this. We'll post it at some point, and we'll keep on doing this with partners. We're doing another one with Renzo and Turtle Club later in the week, so we'll keep you posted there.
Hey, that's fantastic. That's exciting. If you want to learn more about Forum ETH, depositing, or checking it out, you can check us, Nucleus, the default yield provider, out at Nucleus Earn on Twitter. And if you want to check out any updates on what we're doing, check out nucleuslearn.io and our blog for all the big announcements, or just follow us on the Twitter to learn more. And of course, you can check out me here at my little icon. Fantastic. Bradley, as usual, it's always fantastic catching up. Fantastic seeing everyone here, and looking forward to seeing what you guys are cooking up for the rest of the year. And I'm also excited to be a part of it.
Likewise, really excited about what you guys are up to. All right, everyone, stay safe and keep up with our Twitters to just see the next chapter of what's next. Bye, everyone.
Fantastic. Catch you guys.